In this video, we will analyze the speech of the UK speaker who exposed the globalist agenda and how he or she criticized the policies and actions of the UN, the World Economic Forum, and other global institutions. The UK speaker was one of the few voices who dared to challenge the dominant narrative of globalism and its proponents, such as the UN and the WEF. He or she denounced the partnership between these organizations as a disturbing corporate capture of the UN that undermines its independence, impartiality, and effectiveness. He or she also accused them of promoting a false notion of a globalist conspiracy that draws on anti-Semitic tropes and casts some leaders as disloyal to their countries or in the pockets of a global financial elite. The UK speaker argued that the UN and the WEF are not interested in improving the state of the world, but rather in advancing their own interests and agendas. He or she pointed out that these organizations are out of touch with the realities and needs of ordinary people, especially those who are suffering from poverty, hunger, inequality, and climate change. He or she also exposed their hypocrisy and double standards, such as their support for authoritarian regimes, their disregard for human rights, and their failure to address the root causes of global problems. The UK speaker called for a new vision of global governance that is based on democracy, sovereignty, and cooperation among nations. He or she urged the people to resist the attempts of the UN and the WEF to impose their will on them and to manipulate them with propaganda and disinformation. He or she also appealed to other leaders to join him or her in defending their national interests and values against the threats posed by globalism. The UK speaker's speech was a powerful and courageous statement that exposed the dangers of globalism and its advocates. It was a speech that challenged the status quo and offered an alternative perspective on how to address the common challenges we face. It was a speech that inspired many people to question the legitimacy and authority of the UN and the WEF, and to demand more accountability and transparency from them. The globalist agenda is a term used by some to describe a plan by a powerful elite to undermine the sovereignty, democracy, and identity of nations in order to create a one-world government that serves their interests. This agenda is often associated with the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and other international organizations that promote global cooperation and integration on issues such as climate change, migration, trade, and human rights. But what are the implications and consequences of this agenda for the UK and other countries? How does it affect our freedom, security, and prosperity? And what can we do to resist it? One of the main implications of the globalist agenda is the loss of sovereignty. Sovereignty means the ability of a country to make its own laws and decisions without interference from external forces. It also means the right of a country to defend its borders and interests from foreign threats. However, the globalist agenda seeks to erode sovereignty by transferring more power and authority to supranational institutions that are not accountable to the people or their elected representatives. For example, the UN's Agenda 2030 aims to achieve 17 global goals for sustainable development by 2030, which cover a wide range of social, economic, and environmental issues. While these goals may sound noble and desirable, they also imply a radical transformation of the world order that would require countries to surrender their autonomy and resources to a global bureaucracy that would dictate how they should live and govern themselves. Another implication of the globalist agenda is the erosion of democracy. Democracy means the rule of the people by the people for the people. It means that citizens have a say in how their country is run and who represents them in government. It also means that they have the right to express their opinions and beliefs without fear of censorship or persecution. However, the globalist agenda seeks to undermine democracy by imposing a uniform ideology and worldview that does not tolerate dissent or diversity.